Good afternoon, and we'd like to welcome you today. This is a little bit different. We're going to be interviewing not just the people that work for the island, people that live on the island. And there is so much going on today in what we're doing here. We have the new starting of the facilities. As you know, we're now finally breaking ground. We have our permit, so we're starting work on the new cafe. We're enlarging that. We're doubling the size. In fact, we have a new pro shop being built. We have new office space being built. You've probably noticed that we have some trailers out there. That's where the staff is for the moment, but that will be changed obviously after everything is completed. And then once we're done with that, we go directly over to the main island club and we get started over there. But today we're going to meet with Jeff Klein, our new COO. We're going to meet with some residents that live on the island. We're going to meet with Jackie, who runs our spa, with Carrie, and a few other surprises. But I'd like to welcome you, and let's get started. Okay, welcome. And we'd like to welcome you to Williams Island TV. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're out on the tennis courts. Every week we talk, or we try to talk a little bit about all the amenities on the island. We speak to our directors, we speak to the various people that run the club for you. But the bottom line to life is Williams Island is about the residents. It's about the people that live here. It's about the people that enjoy what we have to offer. And we thought we would talk to some of the people that utilize our facilities, have been here for a while. And Peter Levy, one of our long-term residents, is somebody who loves the tennis courts, uses the amenities. His wife is very involved. We're trying to help the island get better about things. So I'd like to introduce you to Peter. Peter's a tennis player.
I am.
And we're out on the tennis court, so what better person to talk to than somebody who utilizes this facility? Peter, tell us a little about your feelings on the tennis court, good, bad, and different, but I know you're here all the time.
I am. Thank you. My name is Peter Levy. I live in the 4000 building, and I've lived here for about 12 or 13 years. We moved here because my parents lived in Aventura, and one of their friends had a membership at the spa, at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And when we were in Florida visiting my parents, we would come here and eat in the restaurant, and I would look out at the tennis courts. And I used to tell my wife, one day I'd like to live here and play on those courts. So when we had the opportunity, we moved here 10, 12 years ago. And what I found wonderful for me was we didn't know anyone. And I took a tennis racket, went to the tennis court, and it wasn't long before I knew everyone and was playing every day.
Now, let me answer just one quick. Were you a tennis player before that?
I played tennis before I got here, but not to the level that I'm playing now. I took lessons. We have really good tennis pros. And regardless of what level you're playing on, they're going to make your game better. And so I did that early on, and I'm not as young as I used to be, but I hang in there.
So this was a big factor when you decided to move here, that
Yes.
it had the amenities here.
The amenities were the factor.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I wanted to play tennis. I wanted to be close to Miami. I wanted to be close to friends we had in Boca. And this was an ideal geographic place to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because we went through the pandemic. It really created a community on the island that didn't exist probably in most places around the world, because we were able to still maintain so many of the amenities we have. What was it like going through almost 2 years of the pandemic on the island?
So initially it was difficult because I played doubles tennis, and we didn't play double, we could only play singles. But you really got to meet people you didn't know. The other thing we did, more people walked.
Yes.
Right? And people walked around the island. And you would stop and talk to people. And so actually made a lot of new friends during the pandemic, just by meeting people and walking around. And not that I want to pat anyone on the back, but I think the buildings did a great job.
They did.
Of limiting exposure in their buildings. I think the POA did a great job, and you know, not to blow your ego up, but you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's our home. You
It
know,
is.
we work for each other, and that's a great place to be. So if you could do something differently here, is there anything you would want to improve on the island? Tennis?
You know,
Anything.
I think we're very good at doing that. So I'm fortunate enough to be on the tennis committee,
Oh,
and the people on this committee are not interested in themselves. They're interested in improving whenever we can the tennis facilities for everyone at every level of tennis. And we've made significant changes
yes, you have.
that have improved tennis. We've changed. We have a new company doing the where you reserve a court.
The reservation system, yes.
Yes, which is easier and quicker. We do a great job of, frankly, when I go down the court in the morning, it's clean, it's swept.
Yeah.
If it rains, you can't play in the rain, but they do a great job getting it ready as fast as you can.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring up the committee because for years the island has wanted a committee. And we hesitated because so many times the committees are self-serving. And there becomes this problem between the tennis director, in this case Carlos, and the committee members. But this year, you're right, we put together a committee, and I think the people that are on it are proactive. They don't have personal agendas, and there's been such a great improvement, both in reservation systems, operationally, and I think you have a great relationship with the tennis pros to begin
I do.
with, which is really
I
makes
do.
a difference.
I have a terrific relationship with Carlos. I have a great relationship with the teaching pros. I think they're terrific. I think the kids program is terrific.
Isn't it amazing how many kids are on these things?
Unbelievable.
I know.
And I think that's a terrific thing. I think it's good for the kids, and I think it's good for the parents, and I think it's great for the pros.
Well, I thank you for being here with us today.
It is
I
absolutely
want
my
people
pleasure.
to hear directly because I can tell them all I want, but this is
You
what we
know,
do
let me
here.
just tell you, so I have friends who visit us,
Yeah.
and they live in other communities, not so much in Florida, but everywhere else. And they're awed by what we have here. And it's something that they have never experienced before.
Yeah.
We have people who come here, say, during the winter and go back in the summer. And who also have facilities where they go back. And I've been told time and time again, but they don't compare with what we have. So this is a
Yeah.
great place. And I say it again, that I think that the POA, under your leadership, is far different than the POA was here when I moved.
Well, that I thank you for, but I thank everybody. We have an amazing team also. The staff that we have on this island, and when the pandemic hit and everyone came together, it really showed, you know, it brought the true light of some of the people we have here. And I think that's brought the island closer together, and it stayed that way.
I agree.
It's
I agree.
really, we've become much more of a community than we've ever been before.
I agree. I mean, as far as tennis goes, not just myself, but new people who come here,
Yep.
we try to help.
Yes, yes. Well, Peter, I thank you so much. Please
My
give my
pleasure.
regards to your wife,
I
Rose.
certainly will.
And we thank you, and we're going to head up to the spa now and say hello to a few people up there.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Williams Island Spa. And we're here today with one of the heads of the spa. This is one of the real bosses of the.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about you first before we get into what you do here.
How'd
How'd you get into all of this?
Well, I actually came from the banking world. Prior to here, as a manager, a bank manager, an assistant manager, as well as a bank. Was there for 10 years and just felt that I needed something different.
Okay.
Was tired of dealing with people's money and finances, so I was like, okay, let's go and explore something different in management, and saw the opportunity over here and just decided to take a leap of faith, and here I am,
That's great.
almost 6 years later.
Now, is this something you've always liked?
Yes.
Is it, so it's part of your life?
Yes.
It wasn't just you decided to do a job?
No, I was not so much into like fitness and everything, but I like the pampering, you know, the taking care of the skincare and everything. I love retail, so prior to banking, my mom used to have a retail store,
Great.
so I was always in there. So retail's always been a part of my life. So this was like a great combination of everything.
So, when you say retail, do you handle mostly the retail here? Because I know you're like the assistant manager. Mm-hmm. tell me what that does. How do you incorporate your talents into what goes on the island?
So I go ahead and not only doing the schedule for the employees here, but I also do handle the retail with Carrie. So we go ahead and we go to shows and conventions to see what new products we could bring into the spa and into tennis as well, because we do both. So it's always fun and exciting to see new things that are coming out into the market and things that we could bring in that is new and different to the spa and to Williams Island. So it's a lot of fun.
So how do you find the response to the island is with what goes on here? Do you get I mean, you're pretty busy all day long, aren't you?
Yes.
So when do you find time to do all these other things? Because obviously you're in a management capacity.
It's just all about time management, setting, in the morning I come in, I do my walkthrough, say hello to all the employees as well as the members I'm in passing. Then I spend my time a little bit in my office doing whatever desk work that I need to do. Then I go ahead and do my next part of the task is before lunches start, go ahead and roam around again, interact with members, see how the retail area is looking, straighten up, rearrange, move things around, just to give it kind of a fresh look.
So let me ask you, I mean, obviously we have great classes here, tons of them. Who decides, how do you work out what class you're going to have, what you're not going to have? Because there's so many new techniques that are going on in the world today of exercise.
Well, we put that into Jackie E's hands.
Okay.
She is the one who manages all of that. But more or less, it's about the demand of the classes, the participation in the classes. So that's how we kind of gauge what classes stay, what classes go.
And what kind of problems do you run into here with the residents?
Oh,
Let's hear it from your side.
Why are you taking away our classes? It's a favorite class, and
Really?
things like that. Or I get members who come also to me and say, can you pass on the message to maybe bring in this class, maybe another Zumba, another dance? So I just relay the messages on and give the feedback and, put my voice
But you
to
don't get
Jackie.
a lot of complaints then, do you?
No, not too many, no.
So people come here, they're happy.
Yes, very happy.
Well, that's great. So tell us if you had your script to write about what we could do here to make it better, what would it be?
Just keep moving forward and bringing on new and exciting things for everyone, for every age group.
Do you find it's hard getting the younger ones, or are we getting younger ones now? Because I see around the island we're getting a younger demographics.
We are getting a younger demographics. I feel like it's really been a shift in the age groups. We're having a lot more younger families coming in, a lot more bigger families with multiple children. So it's not just the couples or your middle-aged families. We're having people coming in who are currently pregnant, just had babies. So it is definitely changing everything that's happening on the island.
Right.
So we are trying to bring in more things for the younger members that we have.
Because it is amazing the change in age. It's almost all of a sudden. That
I feel like
even
it,
I
yeah.
walk around the tennis and I walk around the island and there's so many young families and children and kids, and I think it's wonderful. But I guess that also causes you to rethink classes, what goes on here,
Exactly.
who to attract, and such.
Exactly. We started with just, summer camp, which was just the summertime.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like we've, needed some expansion for other things in different times of the year
Okay.
too.
Well, I thank you so much for everything you do here.
Thank you.
This is the reason we are so successful. You are the reason, and I can't thank you enough for the hard effort. And I'm very glad you decided to go from banking to the health spa industry.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you here again.
Yes.
And obviously, I'm here all the time, trying anyhow. As you can all see, it's not really working, but I try.
You're always here.
We're here. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Jackie.
much.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Today, this is a very special treat, only because we didn't expect to have our guest with us today because he was traveling, I was traveling, and there's been so much going on the island, but we're able to have Jeff with us, our COO, our chief honcho, our chief everything.
Stop giving me all your titles.
No, those are not my titles. My title's lost. At the very first meeting he said, we're going to give you a drink, and it's going to be your twilight drink. And it's like I'm going off into the sunset. So I'm back in the sunshine just for a few minutes.
There you go.
But anyway, I will tell you, just to say thank you. It's being president of an island like this where we have thousands of people living here. It's a tremendous responsibility. It's like investing other people's money. You handle other people's money, but you're really dealing with people's lives, their lifestyle, their amenities. And I will tell you, since Jeff came on board with us, my life has become very easy. You understand the demographics of the island, you understand what we do here. But now that you've been here a few months, what do you think of, how do you think we're doing here? What's your interpretation? Do you think you've accomplished? And what are your dreams?
Yeah, sure. So I've been here since the end of March. And I think in my very first meeting, I said it was like winning the lottery, walking into 83 acres of lavish lifestyle and community, and everything that you said the island was and everything you said the island could be, it is. I think this is really a spectacular place to raise a family. It's a spectacular place to enjoy family and friends, and there's a really tremendous sense of community here. So I've walked into an island that is a diamond that has so much potential, and over the last several months working collaboratively with the directors from each of the departments, working with you and the board, attending the president's meetings, I've really had a chance to listen and really understand what the community wants. And I think we've made a lot of positive strides in bringing and bridging the gap between the POA and all of the buildings. I think there's a better relationship between the POA and the building managers, the POA and the building presidents. And obviously you and I have been able to really bring everybody together, sort of singing off the same song sheet, which I think is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to get the majority of the island thinking the same way, dreaming the same way, because if you can plan it, execute it, we also sit back and analyze it. And I think over the last 30, 60, 90 days, we've had a lot of opportunity as we're looking at the renovation of the deli and the offices and the tennis center, and we're looking at the larger project, and we're making modifications. And we're not only making modifications because of budgetary reasons and things have changed over 2 years, but we're also looking at what the island needs, right? And I think we've been able to bring a lot of that to the forefront, which will pave the way for the future of the island.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about all of the renovations and improvements, and I know a lot of the questions we have, unfortunately, are when's it going to happen? When's it going to finally start? What's holding it up? And very honestly, one of the things that I try to do is slow it down, because I believe that you're coming in, you've got to take ownership to whatever we do. You've got to make it successful. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't fair that you inherited somebody else's ideas. So what we've done is we took the plans, we took the operational plan, we took the pro formas of it, and we said, Jeff, review it.
That's right.
Make sure this really works. Do we have to spend 10 million here and 8 million there or 6 million there? Tell us the best way to spend this money that we get the best bang for our dollar. And we save money if we don't have to spend
Absolutely.
it operationally.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things you're doing right now. You're value engineering it from an operational standpoint.
Yeah, and as you know, we just brought in Thaddeus Keefe. He's our new vice president of food and beverage.
By the way, he's amazing, this guy.
Thank you.
He's
he
else.
brings a breath of fresh air.
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
He's an artist by skill set. His creativity is off the charts. But he's a service-focused leader. He wants to deliver an excellent product. He wants to create a great atmosphere. But having him on board, working with you, working with me, Mikhail, Thomas, and the team, it's not one opinion anymore. It's a multitude of thinking that's going to force us to really measure twice before we cut once, and really deliver the best product. And I think we're all convinced that the environment, it could be as beautiful as it could be, but if we don't deliver a great food and beverage product with great service, the environment is not as beautiful.
Exactly.
So we're really shifting our focus on the who, the culture of the employee, the feel of the service, the quality of the food. And yes, we're gonna build a beautiful pool deck with a great bar, and we're gonna build a ballroom that's fresh and energetic and vibrant, but that doesn't mean we have to modify the structure of everything we do. We have to sort of fit sometimes within the playground that is presented and make the playground a better playground. And I think That playground's funny actually, because I look at coming to work here like a giant playground. It's like summer camp.
It is.
You know?
We
And
live in summer camp.
Having the ability to have this canvas and then creating a playground structure or this big 83-acre oasis, it's an amazing opportunity. And I think what we're about to embark on with the Island Club, whenever we decide to start based on facts and finances and logistics, it's going to be spectacular and it's going to be relevant and it's going to help Williams Island continue to be a premier destination in South Florida. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, these are people's homes. Nobody wants the value of their home to go backwards. They want it to go up and up. They want to be able to give it to their children and feel good about where it is. And I think as we continue to stay relevant and create new, exciting, innovative things happening on the island, from woodwork shops to pizza making night to big parties like Fire and Ice that happened last week, these are the things that are going to make a difference at Williams Island.
Well, and also, you know, it's when you started, and as is normal, anytime somebody new comes into a leadership role, all the staff says, okay, who's he going to bring in, who's he going to fire, who's he going to this, and who's he going to that. We are very blessed with a very unique set of leadership.
Absolutely.
And I mean, the leaders here, for some intents and purposes, have been here as long as 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. It's normal. And like the spa, Jackie and Carrie, they've been with us 25 years.
Absolutely.
But what is amazing to me is that we went through a pandemic, and no business should ever have to go through that. Then we go through total new leadership of food and beverage directors. Then we go through security directors. Then we go through food and beverage. And then we come to the COO that changes. And yet this team has adapted to every conceivable circumstance. You come along with your expertise, and you came from a place where you had 700-800 employees to a place that is close to 300. And yet this team hasn't missed a beat responding to you. And you put together your team's mentality into the team that was already here. And that's a gift. Because some people can't, they want you to adjust, they don't want to adjust.
Yeah.
You've been able to, it's almost like a marriage. You come into a marriage and there's compromise. And you've been able to put this team into a role, making them, in some cases, better, giving them more challenges, letting them be as great as they can be, and let them have that shining star moment. And the team has flourished because of it.
Absolutely.
And that's a gift that you have that most don't have in leadership roles. You've taken something, and as you said we're a diamond that needs polishing. We had the diamond.
Absolutely.
You're the guy with
you
the
made
rag
the
to polish
investment
it.
already.
That's right.
But we failed to potentially take it to the jeweler and have it cleaned every so often. And you're right, the leaders and directors around this organization, they're first class. They are top notch in their performance, the relationship skills they have with the residents, the way they actually lead their teams, they get buy-in. And I've decided to adapt a lot of what they've done here. Rather than come in and try to create this into something it may never be.
That's right.
I decided to take it for what it is and just make it better.
Yes.
And, you know,
But not only make it better, what you've done is, and bringing on Thaddeus as an example, has been an amazing, because he comes with an energy, he comes with a creativity. And the two of you have this symbiotic relationship that make it work. But it's not just making it better, it's making it better with new ideas,
Sure.
new creativity, new thought processes. I mean, like we were just talking to Jackie from the spa, the demographics changing. We're getting a younger crowd here. What worked 20 years ago is not going to work anymore.
Right.
But coming from where you come from, you're used to a myriad of demographics.
Sure. I think one of the big things that I've allowed the leaders to do is really be empowered to run their businesses. They have to be responsible for the financials. They have to be responsible for the day-to-day efficiencies. And sometimes in leadership, you get a COO who is a roadblock to a lot of success.
Right.
And I believe that the path to success is not this straight up arrow that goes right to the moon. I think
No.
success looks like this, and you go ahead and you go backwards. We're gonna make mistakes, and we have to be prepared to make a decision, stick with it, execute it, and analyze it. And if it doesn't work, no problem. We're not performing brain surgery.
But you're making a decision.
That's right. We're making decisions. We're sticking with our decisions. We're going with the plan. And then afterwards, we analyze the successes and failures of those decisions to modify future decisions.
Well,
and that's a big issue. That's something a lot of people don't like to do.
Well, and there's something else. You and I have the same thought process about something. You want to go from A to B, and it's not getting there. That journey from A to B has a lot of twists and turns to get
Absolutely.
there. You learn from them. Some of them are more successful than others, but it's the journey that creates success, not
Absolutely.
the result.
It's also not the destination.
That's right.
Right. So the way you get there is
There's your determination.
right. And if you pictured two ladders standing side by side, and one had little rungs, and one had a rung every 8 feet, I'm pretty convinced the people that have the rungs every 12 inches get to the top a lot faster than the people who have the rungs every 8 feet, right? Because small steps that are calculated and measured, that have limited risk, typically lead to better efficiency. And that's not to say we're not going to take a big leap on something, but we're going to measure 3 or 4 times before we take that big leap, because
Well,
it's important to make sure success is being delivered.
so talking about success, we finally have the permits.
That's right.
And tell us your schedule and what's going on downstairs,
what a
because
day.
we finally
What
are
a day.
starting.
When that permit card arrived in the hands, and it's funny, we had the permit, but we didn't physically have the permit.
Right,
And
right.
then as excited as we all were to start the minute we got the permit,
Yeah.
we all got hesitant not to start until we had the actual permit in our hand. So we lost like 3 days. No big deal. But it's an exciting time right now. We've already taken a wall down in the POA office.
Right.
We've made the break room a more desirable place for the team members to have lunch and to congregate. And right now we're stabilizing starting next week. The fencing will go up to start building the commissary and the platforms for the coolers and the dry storage. We're working on the furniture plan for outside the tennis center, the layout of the deli. And I think we're going to start to see a lot of movement now as it relates to the renovation of the POA offices, the deli, the tennis pro shop, and the tennis outdoor environment.
So my understanding is your plans are the deli will probably double in size,
it will.
and the pro shop that was in there presently is going into its own space.
That's correct.
And the deli will now have a gelato bar and much more grab and go.
Tennis on the island it's a monster, and the number of people that play tennis, that community, our community is deeply attached to tennis.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
wanted to give tennis its own environment where the pro shop can have its own experience, more of a tennis environment, not a tennis coffee environment. But it also gives us a great opportunity in the deli to create a freestanding concept that's going to have its own name, it's going to have its own brand. It's going to be sort of a Starbucks meets deli meets Dean and DeLuca, right? So there's things that you could take home to
that's
entertain,
great.
things that you can eat, and it'll be very cafe, casual inside, more seating outside. But we want the extension of the brand to go home into the residents at Williams Island.
great.
We're going to curate our own coffee program. So if you want your first cup of coffee to be the same cup of coffee you have at the new venue, then you could buy coffee to have at home. So you can have your first cup at home, which I know you like to do. You usually come in, you have your first cup at home,
And then
and then you get your second cup
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
deli. So why not have the same cup of coffee
Yep.
at home and in the deli? And for us, it's about storytelling and brand. So if we can create more identifiable brands that we can tell more stories about, the engagement level between the residents and the POA goes up tremendously. And I think that starts to define what success looks like.
And the
at Williams
excitement
Island.
is we've been talking about this renovation for a year on this program. Now we can say it started.
It started. We're in the throes.
We're in it. And the great part is this is phase one of the major clubhouse
That's
that we
right.
will be getting into the new pool area, but we have to do this before we do that.
Absolutely.
Great having you with us,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Bob.
Only the
Appreciate
best.
it.
And
Thank
I look
you so
forward to
much.
many years together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, Samantha.
Thank you for having
Now,
me. Very excited to be here.
last time we were here, we were talking about how to save the birds and what we had in our trees, etc. But I understand you had a great event on the island.
Yes, we did. We had a presentation with the kids camp. They were absolutely adorable. They were very excited to meet our ambassador animals, Basil and Mowgli. Basil is our Virginia opossum and Mowgli is an eastern screech owl. And they both live with us since they can't be returned to the wild due to permanent injuries. But it doesn't bother them at all. They're very spoiled. And they love being around people, so they were very excited to meet them too. And we got to learn a little bit more about the environment, and they got to plant a little pollinator plant to take home.
Now, how old were the kids that you did this
Well, it
with?
was quite a range of ages. We had some toddlers, so I would say youngest 3 and oldest would be about 12 years old. So we had quite a few age ranges.
And how did they react to the animals and this whole idea? Because this must have been exciting for them.
It definitely was. We had some mixed reactions, but I think everyone for the most part was very excited, and anyone who was a little hesitant at first definitely warmed up by the end of the presentation.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask you, I know you take care of the birds and other animals, but tell me about iguanas. We're inundated with iguana. Tell me, is there anything you can actually do to get rid of them? Or we don't want to kill them, obviously, but what do you do? Because they take over.
Yes, it's very tough. They're a very common invasive species here in South Florida, and a lot of us have to deal with them destroying our landscaping, our native plants. But there are a few ways that you can help prevent them from eating your native plants or landscaping, and try to convince them to go other places, like spraying cayenne pepper and water on your plants, or different herbs. There are a lot of online tips on how to more holistically prevent them from getting into your area and convincing them to go somewhere else.
But they don't attack people, do they?
So obviously anything with a mouth can bite. We never recommend going up to a wild animal, but for the most part, iguanas, like most animals, are going to be much more scared of you than you are of them, and their first instinct is going to be to try to get away from you. So they're not going to try to attack you.
Because I was reading in the newspaper that they're becoming more aggressive. And we have a lot of them on our island. I mean, all over the place. In fact, my own home, I have them. And what they do is they shoot them with, like, I guess a dart that has a sedative in it. Then they take them to a farm someplace, whatever they do with them. But it seems they just keep coming back.
Yes, their populations are definitely increasing since they have no natural predators here. It is very hard to control the rise in their population, and since they've become so accustomed to living in urban environments close to human civilization, it doesn't surprise me that they're becoming more comfortable and getting more aggressive, which
Really?
is why, again, we just recommend to try to use holistic manners that won't harm other wildlife incidentally, to try to keep them out of our areas and try to avoid them at all costs and never go up to wild animals.
And what about the birds we have in our trees now? Are they fairly safe now? Because I don't think this year we've seen too many losses or drops out of the trees.
That's amazing. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That's always what we want, ideally. Perhaps it was less windy, or the birds where they had built their nests were more stable, but we always want to remember to watch out for baby birds that may have fallen out of their nests in the spring and summertime. But I'm very happy to hear that. And I see a lot of native wildlife here on Williams Island. Yeah.
We're like a habitat here for
Yeah, it
animals.
is gorgeous.
Yeah, we have, and it is beautiful to see, because between the birds and the whatever. I'm thrilled about this thing with the camp, and I would love to do more with that kind of thing on the island, but maybe for the families and for the kids and the parents.
Absolutely. We definitely do a lot of programs for families as well, and I think that would be something we would very much enjoy
And what do you do?
doing.
You come to the island and you would have the families here, and we would
Yeah,
have
so
you do something for them.
We have presentations where we come out to, for example, the island, and we'll bring some of our ambassador animals, like perhaps Pepe, our ambassador brown pelican, or Rosie, our ambassador box turtle, and we'll teach the families a little bit about those species and the work that we do at Pelican, and we'll have an activity that they can all partake in together to take home that relates to the lesson.
I think that would be great. I'll speak to Arlene about that, because she loves animals.
Awesome.
So,
Who doesn't?
well, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Bob.
And I
Appreciate
thank you for what you do. It's wonderful.
it. Oh, thank you.
And we will definitely get you back, because I would love to have more stuff like that. I think these lecture series and educating people to the wildlife is so wonderful,
Me too. It's so
especially
much fun.
living in a preserve like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, and have a wonderful day.
You too.